Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. That's what I went and saw today. I want to talk about it. First of all, as I usually do with my reviews, let's go over the synopsis for this movie. All right, it says an aging Chinese immigrant is swept up in an insane adventure where she alone can save the world by exploring other universes, connecting with the lives she could have led. When I read that, like if I didn't see the trailer and I read that, I don't know, I probably wouldn't, it probably wouldn't have been on my radar, but the trailer is what got on my radar because first of all, we have Michelle Yeoh, which I'll talk about this in a moment. Michelle Yeoh, I know her from a lot of kung fu movies back in the days. I know she's done more than just kung fu movies, but that's where I know her. I think I first saw her in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Which Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is the first subtitled movie I've ever watched. And I went to the theater to see that movie. But yeah, Michelle Yeoh, I know her from back then. I know her as a martial arts actor. So when I see her in movies, I'm like, yeah, there's going to be some fight scenes. And then when I looked at the trailer, yeah, the trailer looks like it's going to be wild, crazy fight scenes, you know. And then it also had Ki Hui Wan, which I know I butchered that, which I didn't know at the time, but he's Short Round from the Indiana Jones movies. Well, I think it was the first movie he was in, or maybe the second one. I can't remember which one. But he's the guy, Short Round. It was a kid, you know. And I think the story is that he kind of, took a break from acting for a long while, you know. And this is he's like kind of just getting back into doing stuff, you know. Then you got Jamie Lee Curtis, which I didn't know Jamie Lee Curtis was in this movie until I was watching the movie earlier and I saw her and I was like, okay, Jamie Lee Curtis is in here. But basically, I'll go over what the movie is about, basically. It's a weird movie, a weird, crazy movie. So basically what this movie is about is Michelle Yeoh's character figures out, it's like a multiverse type movie. It kind of dives deep into this multiverse stuff. So Michelle Yeoh figures out that she gets tipped off by somebody from a different universe that came to her universe that in another universe, her character was like some kind of smart scientist or something and developed some kind of technology that allowed people to travel to different universes. So they had been searching for her because she was the character in the main universe from the movie. She's a character. She was kind of down on her luck, you know. I wouldn't say down on her luck, but she was kind of like somebody that just really wasn't that happy in her life. She kind of thought her husband was a goofball, and then her daughter was she didn't really have that great of a relationship with her daughter because her daughter was but one of the plots in the story was that her daughter was gay and was bringing her girlfriend around, and you could tell she was the mother that didn't really know how to deal with that. You know, she was trying to deal with it, but she didn't really know how to deal with that. She just couldn't get it right as far as her dealing with her daughter being gay, and her daughter was trying to bring her girlfriend over to a party that they were having, and Michelle Yeoh's father was visiting, and he didn't know that her daughter was gay, and she didn't want to tell. You know, it was just a whole bunch of stuff going on with that, where it kind of was like, I could imagine, watching the movie, I could imagine how that could be hard for somebody, especially if you're somebody that just don't know. Of course, a lot of people, when they come into situations like that, where somebody in their family is gay or something like that, for a lot of people, that's their first time having to deal with it. Some people can deal with it. Some people could deal with it right off the bat. It's not an issue, but some people just have a harder time dealing with it, coming to terms with things and understanding and, being a good person, dealing with it in a way where you still, it's her daughter. She's going to still love her daughter, but she just don't know how to deal with it. And it just seems like she just doesn't say the right things or do the things the way she should and all of that kind of stuff, which causes a lot of friction between them two. But what happens is she gets seeked out by someone from another dimension, and they pick her because they want her to help them with a problem that they're having. And I'll get to that in a minute. The funny thing is that the reason why they picked her is because, she is a person that has a lot of ideas, but she just all throughout her life, she's either always failed at them or never did them. You know what I'm saying? So the way the multiverse stuff works in this movie is that whenever like with her, whenever she has an idea and she fails or she decides not to do it, another universe is created where a version of her did do those things and was successful at it. So it was so many things in her life that she didn't do or failed at, that there were so many different universes created with versions of her that did all of these different things. So that's why they were seeking her out, because the way the technology work on how they traverse the multiverse is that she could call on, with that technology, she could call on any other version of her in any other universe, and she would gain that version of hers memories and skills and everything. And being that she kind of failed at and gave up on so many different things, there were just so many different versions of her in the different universe that had all of these different skills. So she was like the perfect person to call on to do something. Like if you was to send her on a mission, whatever skill or talent or knowledge that she needed, there was a version of her in a different universe that had that, and she could pull that from them, So the story was that there was a person that got to where they could traverse all of the different universes on their own without the technology. They could just do it on their own, and they can even like view all of those universes even all at the same time and bounce back and forth at will and all of this kind of stuff. And that person was a threat because that person was doing something that they thought was going to ruin all of the universe, destroy everything, so they was trying to find somebody that could stop that person. And at the same time, that person was searching for the main character, Michelle Yeoh's character, whose name is Evelyn in the movie. That person was bouncing from universe to universe looking for Michelle Yeoh's character, was looking for the character that could do what she could do as far as traversing things at will without technology and all of that kind of stuff. So that's why they kind of showed up there recruiting her. And it took a while, for them to get her, to understand what was going on. But then that's when, a lot of the fun stuff happened. A lot of the stuff you see in the trailer, all of the fight scenes and all of the crazy stuff, that's when all of that kind of stuff started happening. Now, it's funny because this movie was 2 hours and 20 minutes and it felt long to me. I don't know what's up with these movies. Just recently, a lot of the movies that I've been seeing felt long. Like this one felt like it was maybe 20 minutes too long. I wouldn't say Batman. I felt like you could have cut out about an hour of that movie, but this one, it felt like it was about 20 minutes too long. And I'll touch more on that in a little bit, when I get down to the ending parts of my thoughts. But yeah, when the movie first started, the first probably 30, 35, 40 minutes of the movie, to me felt a lot like The Matrix. You know how in The Matrix, the Matrix starts off with Neo, and it's the whole thing with Morpheus showing him, things aren't what you seem and all of this kind of stuff, the blue pill and the red pill and all of this stuff. This movie kind of starts off the same way. It even starts off where when she is exposed to it, she's actually in an office building, just like Neo was in The Matrix. But it starts off like that, where she gets approached by the person from another dimension, and he's trying to recruit her and explain to her what things are going on, and things are happening at the same time, and a lot of that felt a lot like The Matrix. I got that feel a lot from like the first 30 minutes of the movie, But after it got past that point and it got to the point where she understood what was going on and everything, then it got to a lot of crazy stuff. This movie is crazy. This movie has a lot of crazy, insane stuff going on in this movie. Some stuff's funny. Some stuff is just wild and wacky. But there was a lot of fight scenes, which I really enjoyed the fight scenes. And there was a lot of them. It was a lot of fight scenes. I'll say that a large part of the middle part of the movie was basically all fight scenes. And the end of it still ended with a lot of fight scenes too. But yeah, it was crazy, just crazy stuff that happened in this movie. And it was really interesting. I like wacky, crazy stuff. You know, when you can like have a story to kind of make you sit there and try to figure things out as they're trying to explain it to you, and it's like wacky and crazy, make you laugh, and things happen. It's like, oh, this is, you know, nutty or whatever. And then you got the action scenes in it too. I was in, you know, I was in. I really enjoyed it. And if you look at this picture on the screen that I have here, it says this is what a true masterpiece looked like. And when I watched this movie, I can see why people will feel like this is a masterpiece. A lot of people are saying that this may be their favorite movie of the year. And I can understand why people would feel that way, because this movie feels like that. It feels like a this is my movie of the year type movie, you know. While I enjoyed it, it didn't feel like a movie of the year type movie to me. I mean, I liked it a lot. The only thing, I had problems with the end, because while I said it was wacky and crazy and over the top with a lot of the stuff was humorous and funny and fun, you know, by the time it got to like the third act, it just felt like they just went off the deep end. It felt like it went overboard. And I don't know, it just felt like they went overboard. And that comes to, if you ever seen this movie, that's how I felt about this movie, Lucy. If you've ever seen this movie starts off a certain way, you know, the whole 10% of your brain thing that people were doing, saying in movies a while, and it was interesting trying to figure it out. But then when you got to the end, it just went so wacky and off the deep end that by the time the movie was over with, I just didn't like the movie. You know, I was kind of angry with where they took that movie. I didn't feel that way about this movie, about everything always all at once. I didn't feel that way about this movie, but it did get really wacky at the end. It to me, it went over the deep end, you know, at the end. It dove off a cliff at the end and just went just a little too wacky for me, you know. And I think that, man, I don't know, if they could have cut out about 20 minutes of all of the wackiness, you know, they could have ended this movie for me in a way where I would have left that there to saying, okay, yeah, this was great, you know. But the end of it with all of the wackiness, it got to the point where I was just basically rolling my eyes towards the end of the movie. It was just crazy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying not to spoil it too much. I know I've told the basic plot, but I'm trying not to spoil the details of the movie. But the thing that they were fighting to stop at the end, I was like, they could have came up with something better than that, you know. It was so insane, you know. And I guess that's the point of the movie. A lot of the stuff that went on in the movie was kind of insane and wacky, you know. But at the end, I felt like they was gonna all bring it all together at the end with something that was that wasn't as wacky and crazy, you know. But they didn't. They just doubled down on it. But they did have, you know, a lot of the movie kind of like they brought in the whole family relationship type thing. They brought that back in, you know, Michelle Yeoh's character dealing with her husband, which, you know, she thought her husband was sort of like an idiot, you know, but her dealing with him, coming to terms with him, learning more about him, you know, through everything that was going on in the movie, her learning how to deal with her daughter, or I don't know if she actually learned how to deal with her daughter, but they brought things out. They opened the door on their relationship with each other and made things better. You know, so it was a lot of things like that that went on that kind of threw in like a little bit of a feel-good moment, you know, not super obvious, but kind of in there, hidden between all of the wackiness and all of that kind of stuff. And I thought the way they did that was pretty interesting. And that's the part that I feel like, you know, when I watch this movie and I see that, you got the wackiness going on, but then you also got her coming to terms with her relationships with the people in her life. That's the part that I feel like, yeah, when people are watching this movie, they're going to feel like this is awesome. I mean, it didn't have that effect on me, but I could see it. I can see people feeling that way about this movie. And then you have like situations like, for example, you know, the immigrant parents, you know, dealing with like the more Americanized version of the daughter and all of that kind of stuff. And I can see a lot of people, you know, watching this movie and feeling like, yeah, this is how it was in my house. You know what I'm saying? I could see that if you are like, you know, and if you're like a second generation, like if you're Asian or something like that, and you're like your parents is from you know, China or somewhere, and you were born here, you know, I can see those people that are in those situations having that feeling when watching this movie. They'd be like, yeah, my mother was just like this, you know. And then like people from the LGBT community, you know, having to deal with, you know, you being you and just wanting the people that love you to accept you, and they don't quite know how to accept you in the way that you want them to. And you know, a lot of that kind of stuff, I can see a lot of things in this movie touching a lot of different people, you know, and then you bring in the action and the wackiness and all of that kind of stuff. I could see a lot of people looking at this movie saying, yes, this is a masterpiece. Just like that poster there say, you know, I could see a lot of people watching this movie and feeling like, you know, and getting that feeling, coming away from that movie feeling like they just watched a masterpiece, you know. I didn't get that feeling, but I did enjoy the movie. I did enjoy it. I like the fight scenes. What I got most out of the movie was the fight scenes, you know, and that's what I went there for, was the fight scenes, and I wasn't disappointed. They were pretty cool fight scenes, and there were a lot of them, and that's what made the movie for me. You know, I like the wacky stuff that went on. You have to see the movie. I keep saying wacky. I know it doesn't mean anything unless you've saw the movie, and then you can understand what I'm talking about. But I like some of the wacky stuff that went on, even though I think they kind of went too far towards the end. But I do think that made the movie interesting, especially you kind of like mixing up the sort of like the sci-fi aspect of it, traveling through the different dimensions and different multiverse universes and all of that kind of stuff. I thought that was interesting. I liked how they handled it, you know, and it was a fun movie to watch, you know, even though I kind of felt like it went too far with the wackiness at the end. I was kind of disappointed with how they chose to end this movie as far as that part of it.